The iMore Show is brought to you today by SoftLayer. SoftLayer delivers clouds built to compute. Your business applications and compute workloads are different from everyone else's, so you deserve cloud resources that meet your unique needs. SoftLayer is an IBM company, and it's the cloud infrastructure foundation of all IBM products and services. Even if you're not looking for infrastructure, you can benefit from SoftLayer infrastructure when you use platform or software services for IBM Cloud. All you have to do is go to softlayer.com/podcast and you can get $500 of cloud infrastructure. Just go there, get your stuff, take it, put it up on the cloud, let IBM worry about the rest. It is August 17, 2015. I'm Rene Ritchie, and right now we're going to talk a little bit about the news, but a lot about your questions. This is the iMore Show. Joining me this week, as always, the delightful Serenity Caldwell. How are you, Ren?
I'm doing great. We just finished a book.
Woo! I'm literally going to Snoopy dance.
Without knocking anything over.
I try not to knock anything over. Xander makes it look so easy.
Truth.
He has preternatural Snoopy dancing powers. Party in his eye socket. So what does that mean? What does a book finished mean, Ren?
A book finished means that we have compiled over 70 articles from iMore.com into an ebook and made it pretty and made it readable and added a bunch of images and I've probably written 7,000 new words for this book. So we've basically put together a ton of Apple Music content, and hopefully it'll be on the store in just a few days. We're really excited about it and really proud of this book, and so I hope people check it out. You can pre-order it now, $5. That's awesome. It's about the cost of like a cup of coffee and a croissant. So if you want to
pay like $6 for this,
there you go, second cup.
Yeah. Cups. And when you say we, I mean, Serenity is being incredibly modest. When you say we, she took this mountain of mismatched articles and by will and skill forced them into something that is amazing looking and incredibly knowledge packed is a word I'm going to invent right now.
Yes, I would agree about knowledge packed. This is definitely, it's 5 chapters and each chapter has about 12 sections in it. So we've got a lot of stuff in here.
All the Apple Music.
All of the Apple Music. I'm really excited for people to get their hands on this and get a chance to check it out, especially if you're still having problems on Apple Music, or you know people who are like, I don't understand Apple Music. It's scary. Come check out our book. It's awesome.
How much more Apple Music has Serenity put in that book? None more Apple Music.
We have pushed it chock full. It is chock full of music.
Right after this show, I'm going to alias imore.com/Apple Music Book and take it right to the ordering page. That make it easy for everybody.
There we go. I like it.
Quick links. All right, awesome. So that will be out soon. We also are busy running our hashtag switch to iPhone. It's got to be a thing. I want to make it a thing.
I need a sticker.
Sticker hashtag. Switch to iPhone contest. So we've been talking a lot about switching to iPhone, and Tim Cook said in the last report that more people are switching to iPhone than ever. But there are some people who just can't. They really want to, but they just can't do it. So we wanted to try to help. And to do that, we've been doing some contests. We did one last month. We're doing another one this month. Last time it was a comment contest. This time it's a Twitter contest. All you have to do is go to imore.com/switch-to-iPhone. You'll find all the details, but basically you tweet to @iMore, hashtag switch to iPhone, and tell us why you want to switch, and we will help you do it to the tune of $500.
$500.
Real gift certificate monies. So check that out. A couple other things I wanted to mention quickly. We've started up again our iOS, and it's not going to be iOS. It's going to be iOS and OS 10 and watchOS. And Serenity and I and some of our internet friends are going to basically explain how all this new stuff works, because sometimes it's very nebulous. Like you press this and that happens, but it doesn't happen, and then you're trying to figure out what's not happening. So we try to explain, in some cases, down to the frameworks and why they work and why they're only compatible with some devices and not others. But this is one of my favorite series every year, and because it seems to actually, it's almost like a translation service.
Yeah, me too. I really like the ability that we have to break things down into easy to understand component parts. You know, we talk about split view on the iPad. Okay, so but how do I use it? How do I get into it? Is there a difference between that little drawer that I saw at WWDC and the big giant screen? You know, those are serious questions, Rene, that need
Yeah, well,
answering.
they are, and there's also stuff that we discover while writing them. Like you're trying to swipe to go forwards or backwards in Safari, but you're getting the gesture that opens or closes multitasking, and you have to find out you got to swipe at a certain spot higher up on the screen, and you can discover the stuff. But if we can just tell you, it's so much easier.
Yes, I agree.
So that is all the announcements. We have some news going out. iOS 8.4.1, Ren, it fixed a lot of the music things.
Yes, thank goodness. I'm really excited about that. There are far fewer bugs.
Yeah, and they fixed accessibility too. So now if you were using VoiceOver with it, you can get VoiceOver down to the interface level. And it actually, and this informed some of our switch to iPhone stuff, it occurred to me that Apple pushed out iOS 8.4.1 to everybody in every region, on every carrier, on every device going back to the 2011 iPhone 4S all at once. And you watch Google busy pushing out stuff to address stage fright. And then I did a look, and if the 2011 phones like the Samsung Galaxy S2, even the people say get a Nexus, even the Nexus, the Galaxy Nexus, though that was end of life in 2013. So kudos to Apple for taking this stuff seriously.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate how far back they reach for their past devices. And, as much as Apple wants you to buy the latest and greatest version of the iPhone, they also know that not everyone is going to have an iPhone 6. Some people are still on a 4S, they're still on a 5, they're still waiting to upgrade. And the fact that they can acknowledge that and be like, yeah, we still want to support our consumer base, even if they're not on the latest and the greatest.
Yeah, because I think it comes down to they want your next phone. Like everyone wants the next phone to be the same manufacturers, but there's Google who really has great intentions, but then the manufacturers and the carriers could often care less.
Mm-hmm.
And iOS 9 is going to go back on every phone that has iOS 8, so that goes back to 2011 as well. iPhone 4S, iPad 2, iPad Mini 1. I'm really happy about that.
Me too.
Sprint got everyone up early today by announcing that they are going to let customers upgrade. Now, Ren, people make fun of Sprint when I go to the US, but it looks like that is sort of translating into them trying to do more, almost like in a T-Mobile mode.
Yeah, well, I mean, T-Mobile and Sprint are actually pretty good comparisons in that they both started out as fairly minor carriers in the world. T-Mobile really got a leg up because it managed to buy up quite a lot of 4G and LTE infrastructure. Whereas before it was kind of carrier sharing with AT&T. Sprint has that same problem where Sprint has a much smaller network than the big two, than AT&T and Verizon. And as such, they've had to differentiate themselves in different ways than Can You Hear Me Now or best coverage in the world. And instead, it's with things like this. It's with early upgrade plans. It's with, music offerings. It's the same kind of things that T-Mobile is doing. Although I definitely think Sprint, at least from my memory, Sprint tends to target more conservatively, where they're like, we'll cut your bill in half. We'll do half of this. And T-Mobile's like, we'll pay for everything. Just come to us.
And then drop a couple F-bombs in the statement.
Yeah.
So Sprint, what they announced was, starting today, new and eligible Sprint customers can get iPhone for just $22 per month with iPhone Forever. Anytime customers don't have the latest iPhone, they are eligible to upgrade. They bring the iPhone upgrade on the spot, and away they go. It's that simple. iPhone Forever is available on any eligible Sprint rate plan, and upgrade eligibility is always included in your price.
I appreciate that you did that with what you think a Southern American sounds like.
Well, it's a railroad company, right? That's how they had rite of passage for all their towers. That just sounded railroady to me.
Yes, we're going on the long, lonesome road.
So if T-Mobile is awesome in your area, then this is something you really want to look into.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where as long as you can get good connectivity via Sprint, and you can tell Sprint has those maps available, and little LTE dongles are also very useful. $22 a month is, what is that over 2 years?
Oh, 2020 plus 25.
Yeah, so it's
25 or something.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more expensive than just flat out buying a new iPhone. But if you are somebody who upgrades every year, it may end up working out pretty well for you. Because if you're looking at it over a year instead of over 2 years, it becomes a lot better.
Yeah, and you can upgrade all the. Everyone wants to upgrade all the time now. I mean, people. There was some discussion about how Apple might need to be worried because the contract prices are going away, but competing phones are the same price. The two new Samsung phones that are introduced are as expensive and more expensive than the iPhone 6 Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, though the prices are just going to get hidden in other ways. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
retail outlets are great at hiding prices.
They don't want you to know how much it actually costs.
No, there is nothing to fear about retail itself. iCloud file recovery, you go to iCloud.com now, you hit on settings, you go all the way to the bottom under advanced, and you can restore your files on a file by file basis, just like you were able to restore photos before. And you can also, yeah, it's almost Dropbox. It's not quite as nice.
Yeah, not quite, but it's a nice step forward. Although you mentioned, I remember we were talking about this a little bit, and you were saying something about how there's no way to wipe certain things?
Yeah, because like in Photos.app on iOS and OS 10, you can go into your recently deleted photos. When there's any photos you'd rather the world never, ever, not ever see, you can just purge them, basically. But you can't do that in iCloud.com/photos, and you can't do that anywhere, as far as I can tell, for iCloud files. So if you have, some document that details your nefarious Spectre scheme to finally rid the world of James Bond and take over, and you'd rather Bond not find out about it in advance, you can't purge that. There's 30 to 40 days that if he gains access to your iCloud account, he'll be driving an Aston Martin right on top of you.
So maybe you don't put those things on iCloud Drive.
Yeah, I filed a radar, and we'll get a post up about it. But I filed a radar and sent it off to some friends, hopefully, because Apple's usually pretty good about adding those sorts of features.
Mm-hmm.
So fingers crossed, you'll be able to purge everything. But most people, I mean, that's sort of more of a niche need. Most people, the biggest problem they face is data destruction and data loss. And to be able to go in there and you can reclaim old contacts, old calendars, old reminders, that all gets archived. And if you lose your stuff, if you delete it by accident, going in and getting it back is invaluable.
It's awesome. I'm really happy that they did this.
I believe you're probably also even happier that modern buckles are shipping.
Yes, I am so happy that modern buckles are shipping. How did you know, Rene?
I think you ordered like 9 of them. I think that was a tip off.
Yeah, I ordered. No, I spent my entire month's salary on a couple modern buckles. No, I mean, I'm wearing a bracelet around it right now, but I have been wearing my modern buckle, which was on loan from Apple for quite a few months now. I got it back in June. So I've been wearing this thing for 3 months. And in that period, it hasn't worn down at all. It looks beautiful. It looks as clean as the day that I got it.
They are stunning.
They are stunning, and they are comfortable. My modern buckle is as comfortable, if not more comfortable, than my sport band, which is something that I would have never guessed going into it. I don't like leather bands. I feel like leather bands are sweaty and they get itchy. And it's because it is so thin, because it is so, it's so thin and so tiny, it doesn't feel like anything's on your skin. And because you can adjust this buckle to perfectly fit around your wrist. And then once you do so, you never have to readjust it again. Unlike the sport band where you have to like reach over and redo it every time. With the modern buckle, it's just adjust, and now it's one clasp on, and it just sits so nicely on the wrist. It feels so comfortable to be on my wrist, and the colors just look great. Even with despite I have a sport right now, and I'm wearing, obviously the modern buckle technically is designed for the stainless steel Apple Watch, but it looks great. You can't really even tell that it doesn't belong on this watch unless you look really, really closely.
Unless you engage your snob goggles.
Yeah, pretty much. I am absolutely, like, I wouldn't have gotten one for myself. Like, I wouldn't have spent $250 on a leather band in addition to the review unit that I have if I didn't think it was truly quality.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. My mom wanted to get one, but alas, she has the 42 millimeter band. And as Virginia Roberts wrote for us last week, there's no parity in bands. You can't get the modern buckle at the 42, and you can't get the leather loop at the 38. But Apple did release a bigger version of the sport band, and they released extra links for the link bracelet. So yeah, there is movement.
There is, yeah. So the bigger and we're technically talking about longer,
yes,
not so much wider. There was some pushback from folks with slightly larger wrists who were complaining that they just didn't have a band that could properly fit their wrist. And thankfully now, if you have the link band or if you want the sport band, there are options for you. I don't know if they're marking it as large XL on the sport.
Well, Dwayne the Rock Johnson is much happier this week than he was last.
I bet he's probably his poor wrist probably is being choked of all life.
Probably Ronda Rousey as well. Yeah, all the happiness. And I'm happy that they are moving. I still don't know whether we're going to see more bands, more colors, more options come the fall in WatchOS 2, but at least it hasn't stopped.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're focusing on keeping it going.
I'm not wearing my watch today because last night I was woken up by the fire alarm going off, and I have one of those fire alarms where it's not a battery, it's in the building, and there was no reason for it. I keep my windows open in summer, so I think maybe someone was smoking, or there was moisture or something from the air conditioner. I'm not sure, but you can't turn it off because there's no batteries in it. So I had to go turn off the power, and the power, because it's right outside my room, that power is also my room, and I didn't realize it wouldn't charge my Apple Watch. No. And then I tried turning it back on, and now I have my Apple Watch in another room charging. But I've been looking at my wrist over and over again, and all I see is wrists. So I'm as upset as Stephen Colbert now.
Reasonable.
I'm going to take a short break so I can tell you about lynda.com, the online learning platform with over 3,000 on-demand video courses to help you strengthen your business, technology, and creative skills. For a free 10-day trial, visit lynda.com/iMore. Lynda.com, who is that for? Well, it is for problem solvers, for the curious, who really want to make things happen. If you have ever said The Matrix, I am not legally allowed to tell you that you can just jack lynda.com into your cerebral cortex and download things like helicopter flying and kung fu, but it's the closest I have found to that being a true fact. You just go there, you start learning, and you know things. It is pretty much that simple. You can learn Microsoft Office, negotiation tactics, how to build a website, how to shoot cameras, how to build your Photoshop skills. Almost anything for the technically minded, you can fill up your mind with those techniques. So they also have going paperless, iPhone and iPad security fundamentals, income tax fundamentals, growth hacking. The list goes on and on and on. You can watch and learn from top experts who are passionate about teaching. You can stream thousands of video courses on demand. You can learn at your own schedule, your own pace. You can watch just a little bit, or you can watch all of it. You can break it down to whatever size is best for you. You can browse transcripts, search for answers, skip to any point in the video, take notes, download them to your iPhone or iPad or your Android device. You can create and save playlists. It is feature packed. So what I want you to do is this. Your membership will give you unlimited access to training on hundreds of topics, all for one flat rate. So whether you're looking to become an industry expert, you're passionate about your hobby, or you just want to learn something new, I want you to visit lynda.com/iMore and sign up for a free 10-day trial. That's it, free. You got to learn a bunch of stuff for absolutely free. That's lynda.com/iMore, iMore. Thanks so much, Linda. We haven't published the results yet, but we got some of our survey results back already, and it's amazing. Our readers, we had like 8,000 plus people take the survey, and I have to check the exact numbers, but well over 90% of them use the Apple Watch 5 days or more a week, and I think it's over 95% use it for 8 hours or more, and I think 87% use it for 12 hours or more a day. The usage numbers are actually really impressive, and it does sort of echo how I feel about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. I'm excited that we got so many great responses. But in general, I feel like once the watch is on, it's kind of set it, forget it, and then you use it when it involves in your daily life. And for a lot of us, I think we're finding many, many ways to incorporate it in really smooth, comfortable ways.
Yeah, I love Benedict Evans' post last week where he said when he got the baby in one arm, the wash basket in the other, and his wife is calling, he can answer with his nose, and he feels like he has superpowers like Elastigirl from The Incredibles. He's just delightful, delightfully British.
Yes.
Ben. The FCC has outed, people say FCC leaks things. FCC doesn't leak things. It's a government agency, and companies that submit things to the FCC know that they're going to be made public. So it's not a leak. It's just we found out by way of the FCC that Apple has a new Magic Mouse 2 ready, and a new Apple wireless keyboard. These are Bluetooth 4.2 peripherals. They didn't look outlandish, right? They look like new versions of the trusty old accessories.
No, what do you want to bet that the Magic Mouse has Force Touch though?
I didn't see a magic trackpad though, and that's where I really want it.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit. Yeah.
Force Touch is hard.
Force Touch is hard, and I would really like it on a Magic Trackpad. But I'll take it on a Magic Mouse.
There was also the Guardian filed a Freedom of Information request on a government naval facility and found out that Apple, amongst other companies, had asked to use the facility to test automobiles. And they said that this was confirmation that Apple is making a self-driving car. It is confirmation that Apple wants to experiment with car-y things.
Confirmation. No, it's confirmation that Apple wants a private place to test something that might need to be tested on a road. That could just be CarPlay, guys.
Yeah. CarPlay too uses manufacturer integration, and you probably need to drive around, and you can't drive around in unannounced cars, like next year's cars that the companies haven't announced yet in public.
Yeah, 2016 VWs. I think Volkswagen would be pretty upset if Apple went around leaking their cars. Which is not to discount the fact that Apple may well be testing off-road, autonomous cars, but they could also be in a very early stage of it. I mean,
Yep.
Google has a lot of parking lots to play around in.
And they're public about it.
Yeah, until Cupertino builds their underground parking structure for the spaceship, they need some space.
You know that there is a Mario Kart track at the bottom of that thing.
Oh my gosh, yes, it'd be so cool.
I'm not saying some of our friends have been awfully quiet lately is all I'm going to say. I made a joke this weekend that one of the things that concerned me most about the short-term future of Apple is the lack of drone footage showing the building of a BJ's too. But I was assured that there are plenty of bars across the street from the new place as well. So if you were going to write that into your next insider headline, please don't.
Yes, it's okay. BJ's the original stands alone. You can only get Pizookies one place.
Awesome. Apple released their diversity report, and on the surface, I mean, this is one of those things, Ren, where numbers are not your friend, because in terms of raw numbers, Apple hired a lot more women and minorities, but because Apple is a large company, the delta change is in the minuscule 1 to 2% range.
Yeah. The diversity report is very hard and very frustrating to deal with, because I think the way that Tim Cook introduced it, I think is pretty self-explanatory, where it's like, there are numbers here that, make it look like we're on the right track, and there are numbers that show how far we still need to go. And both of these things are true. And I think that's very, I'm glad that he acknowledges both sides of that coin, because yes, women are up in certain areas, and I'm really glad to see that, but it is mostly retail. And while, you know what, retail is a great place to have diversity. And not everyone is just, let me sell you a computer. We've got the creatives, we've got the geniuses. So there are, women who often use those kind of jobs to spring into tech fields. I mean, I used an Apple Store job to get where I am now. So it's definitely a good starting point, but it would still be good to see, I don't think there wasn't really any change in leadership. There wasn't a lot of change in corporate or engineering.
And tech was weird because it added up to, it was 22 and 79, which adds up to 101. So I don't know if there was a 1% change or a 2% change there.
Yeah, it's complicating.
Numbers, yeah. And it's, again, you have to hire a lot of people. And Apple's an older company. If you have a new company, you tend to have more diverse workforces because workforces are more diverse now. Apple has to add people to change the numbers in the leadership, and they're doing it with people like Lisa Jackson, but more, please. And the numbers, especially for African American and Hispanic Americans too, single digit for leadership, single digit for just the general workforce, half that for leadership roles.
Yep.
So they do say more work needs to be done. That's, I think, no one is disagreeing with that.
No.
All right, Q&A. We're doing a Q&A show because people have a lot of questions, and we are hopefully going to provide answers. I want to start off with a couple emails. I think we can get through those relatively quickly. James has discovered something that we've known about the Apple Watch for a long time, but maybe hasn't been made as clear as it should have been. And that is, it was announced that if you had an iPhone and you had an Apple Watch on the same network, you would be able to pretty much go anywhere on that network, and your Apple Watch would stay in contact with your iPhone regardless of Bluetooth range. But people who are on 802.11x and similar networks, or places where you need to log in for Wi-Fi, are finding that's not the case. And it's my understanding that just that stuff is not built into the Apple Watch yet. It doesn't have the ability to negotiate login-based or 802.11x networking connections, so it doesn't see them basically.
Yeah, I mean, I've had this problem in my own house where the Apple Watch sometimes just won't connect to, and like if my iPhone is more than 3 rooms away, it will just assume that all network connectivity is down. And that's definitely frustrating, especially because Apple is kind of like, yes, this is how this is going to work. It's another example of Apple being over enthusiastic about something without necessarily disclosing the technical hurdles and complications that are required, which we saw a lot with Apple Music, where it's these excuse me these features do have a large amount of technological complexity underneath it. And Apple, by and large, wants to be like, no, just don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. It's not, we don't want to make this difficult for you. But when it doesn't work, when it doesn't just work, it gets very sad and frustrating.
Yeah, it's similar to Apple Music, where they sort of yada yada the Apple Music iTunes match thing, and then when you have trouble, it's impossible to find any information on it. You got to just do a lot of testing.
Mm-hmm.
So more information and all that stuff is always appreciated. This next one is just adorable. And I'm not sure how to fix it yet, but we were looking into it. I got a cute sound from my friend's baby sent via iMessage. I was wondering if I could save that sound and convert it to a texting tone. I know how to do the conversion and sync between Mac and iPhone, but I can't figure out how to get the AMR file out of the iMessage conversation. Help, Adam.
All right, Adam. Well, I would check and see if Ecamm software has a thing that I think is called Phone
View.
View.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's entirely possible that you might be able to pull that out of your SMS. Alternatively, I'm not sure if you can share an AMR file. I imagine you might be able to in iOS 9 because you'd be able to highlight it. If you can share it and if you can get it into an email message, then from there, or if you can forward it to an email message, you would be able to get it out of the iMessage silo and do something a little more interesting with it.
That's actually a really good idea. I'll have to try that. I'm going to find some baby sounds and get me working.
Yeah.
All right. This last one, and we get this quite a lot, so I figured I'd put it in here. I was wondering if you could help me out for my iPhone. Well, the problem is I have an iPhone 5C and I want to reset it, but it's locked because someone's account has it locked. How can I reset it when someone else's account is locked on it? I tried DFU, but it went through... sorry, that's a little bit confusingly written. It went through, but it needs to enter the password for the account that has it locked. And I don't know what that password is because I originally got this from my friend. He found it and gave it. Oh, the story thickens.
Just gets better.
He found it and gave it to me. Could you help? We get this so often from people who want to basically remove the access lock feature, which is Apple's theft prevention system, which means that if you get an iPhone, you can't really do anything with it unless you have the owner's iCloud email address. That includes if you find it or air quotes find it. And that is for a very good reason.
Yes. You're not going to circumvent Apple's activation lock tech.
Yeah. Nope. All right, moving on to Twitter. We have some good questions in Twitter too. Michael A. Bishop. He wants to know how he can use Siri with Hue lights. He could not find the answer online.
Oh, well, Michael, unfortunately, you can't use Siri with Hue lights yet. Philips has said that they will be integrating Hue lights with home automation. So we'll see that hopefully with iOS 9 later in the year, whenever Philips decides to release their hub to make all of the Hue lights HomeKit compatible. Until then, unfortunately, you won't be able to make Siri make your lights dance.
I'm going to try a workaround. I just received the iHome plug that is HomeKit and Siri compatible. And I was doing some testing, and it looks like when power goes out and comes back on, the Hue lights come on to their default normal light mode, which means theoretically you could tell the plug to turn off and the plug to turn on. You wouldn't be able to control the lights, but you could at least get them to turn on and off. And that's a terrible solution, but it's a nerdy thing to try.
Yeah, that's a good start. All right, here's a question for you, Rene. Yeah. Peter Gilbert wants to know, he says, I've discovered the Batman Arkham series on the iMac, but I struggle with it on the mouse and the keyboard. Can you suggest a good Bluetooth controller? Really, that's a Guy English question, but...
Does Guy English know what Bluetooth is? I think he just hardwires it. I think he's got a cable from Arkham that goes directly into the back of his brainstem matrix.
He just thinks.
What? Yeah. What I tried was an Xbox controller. And there are various bits of software in GitHub repositories, and we have an article on it, so I'll add that to the show notes, that lets you get your Xbox controller working with your Mac. And since a lot of us are used to using Xbox controllers for console gaming, using it on the Mac is quite easy. And I was playing not the latest Arkham, but the Arkham before that on my Mac for quite a bit, and it worked great.
Awesome. I'm going to run away for 1 second because the mailman is at the door.
Run, Ren. Shovel. Any known iOS updates to stock weather or Apple or other apps? Yes, Shovel. In fact, there are. Stock weather, Apple has not said anything about, but Apple completely redid the Notes apps. That's one of their highlights, one of their tentpole features. It's a brand new Notes app that lets you not only take notes, but in more of like an Evernote-y and OneNote-y sense, you can actually embed things, including directions and websites and all sorts of other data inside the note, pictures, and then you can quickly find them. You can see a list, sort of an abstract view of all different media you've embedded. And so far, it's pretty useful. You can even sketch, if you have an iPhone or an iPad, you can even sketch right into the note, little hand-drawn thingamabobs, and they all come right in there. So Notes is a big redesign. Also, they've gotten rid of Newsstand. All the Newsstand apps have been set free to roam around the home screen, and they've got a brand new News app. And the News app pulls in sort of all the RSS news sources that you know and love, and then presents them to you in a very slick, not quite Flipboard way, but like a technology similar to Flipboard, where it's just presented in its own sort of frame. So that's a couple redesigns, and there are new features in a lot of the apps. Mail and Safari and everything got new features, so there's quite a lot of updates on the way, and we have a complete FAQ and a preview that shows you all of those things at imore.com/iOS9. We're going to take another short break so I can tell you about Red Hat. It is tried, it is tested, it is trusted, it is simple, but not easy. So what does it mean when every commercial bank in the Fortune 500 relies on Red Hat for enterprise software, or every department in the executive branch of the US government, or every airline in the Fortune Global 500? It means that more than 90% of all companies in the Fortune 500 understand the value of supported enterprise open source software and what it can bring to their businesses. If the value of open source is rapid innovation, freedom, and interoperability that comes with community power technology, then the value of Red Hat is taking responsibility for that technology, testing it, enhancing security, certifying it that it'll all work in your data center. Red Hat is making a big difference, and it's simple but not easy. They make sure that you can get all the benefits of open source without the risk of doing it all yourself. We did this in my old company. We had some open source stuff because super cheap, but for the stuff that really mattered, we used Red Hat because they, true facts, they were actually there. If we had a problem, they would fix it. If for other stuff, if there was a problem, we had to try to fix it if we could. And in an enterprise situation, that is not great. So no one else can make that promise, much less keep it. Visit redhat.com to see how they can help you and your enterprise with application development, storage, and cloud computing. Red Hat, different for the sake of better technology. Thank you, Red Hat. Alessandro Aupa wants to, I hope I pronounced that right. He wants to know, what's the deal with all Apple Mail going into junk mail? I've tried all the Apple support options to no avail. True on OS X and iOS. So I have not actually ever seen that. And that would certainly be incredibly stressful if that were the case. Or if that is the case. So a couple things that I could recommend that you try is marking people as VIPs and seeing if they stay out of the junk mail folder for you. And maybe set up a secondary account just for testing purposes and see if those also go into junk mail, because if that's happening, it's probably not an iCloud issue, but might be something on how you have your local mail client set up. And if it's maybe also try setting up a Gmail account and seeing what happens with that. And again, just to sort of the rule of troubleshooting is to reduce everything to as simple a known state as possible, and then to try out logical variants. So if your email is all going to junk, you make sure that other iCloud email, does that go to junk or not? Other email, does that go to junk or not? And once you can start answering those questions, it makes finding out where the exact problem is much easier.
Absolutely.
Ren, you're back.
I am back. Yes, I got an extra dog.
Nice. Do they just mail those to you now?
Yeah, they just kind of show up from vet appointments.
Nice.
All right, so let's see who else. Brett Covington wants to know. Covington. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Brett. Wants to know, when do you think the MacBook Pro will get USB-C? Well, Brett, I think it's probably going to be a couple years yet. Usually, when Apple wants to experiment with something, they tend to do it on a computer like the Air or now like the new MacBook. I think maybe we'll see like some USB-C ports, possibly. Renee, do you have any more insight in your shipping supply line brain?
No, like it's hard because they just updated those machines. Like they updated the MacBook Pro 13-inch to Broadwell already, and they updated the MacBook Pro 15-inch to Haswell 1.5. It's always like you can never say never with Apple. They're one of the most agile and companies out there, so they could push out updates whenever they want. But I think it'll probably be a redesign, maybe next year when we see them.
Mhm.
And all USB-C. I think I think with the Pro, it'll be additive. It won't really, like they'll replace the existing USBs with USB-C and keep the Thunder.
Yeah, in addition to Thunderbolt 2. You won't see one USB-C port MacBook Pros.
And if they go right to Skylake, maybe we'll see Thunderbolt 3 and USB-C.
That's true.
I wonder if they'll keep the MagSafe or if they'll use USB-C for charging as well.
I think USB-C, I think the MagSafe days are limited, which makes me sad because I really do love having my super light laptop not fly off the table if someone trips over the cord. That has happened on multiple occasions. And in fact, you can see the one time where where something bad happened on that poor little bent corner.
I, like other people, wish that they would just put the magnetic coupling on the AC adapter now side, so that
Yeah,
will just break
that
out.
makes more sense. That makes a lot more sense.
Do it, Apple. Do it.
All right. What's next, Renee?
This is from Mark Dymore. We are terrible at this. Are there any advantages to buying an iPhone unlocked?
Well, Mark, there are a bunch of advantages, actually. I mean, it's more expensive, which is definitely a downside, but you're going to get a better resale value for it because you can use it on any network. And on top of that, you will be able to use it overseas, which if you are either planning on doing some traveling or if you travel overseas regularly or just to other countries, unlocked iPhones are incredibly useful because then you can pick up pay-as-you-go SIMs and basically pay next to nothing for your internet connectivity and phone coverage. Whereas if you're locked to a certain network, say AT&T, the overseas fees are ridiculous. It's slightly better than they used to be, but it's still something like $60 for 120 megs or something silly like that.
It's absurd. And in my case, because I'm a complete and utter idiot, it just lets you, I buy unlocked all the time, even though there's no advantage because Rogers charges me the same thing. But I just like the idea that I'm not beholden to Rogers. It's almost like it's civil protest. It costs me the same, but it's civil protest.
I'm putting my foot down. Nathan Taylor asks, is Time Machine for iOS doable?
There have been rumors for a long time that Apple would take the Time Machine, basically the Airport Extreme box, and turn that into an intermediary for iCloud. So basically, backups would be staged on that device and also be copied to iCloud, and updates to your device would come down there and then go to all your machines. That would stop you having to download gigs and gigs of data on every device that you have. That's been rumored for years and years and years, but Apple hasn't actually implemented it in the field. It's absolutely possible, and it's good to have a local backup because iCloud could be unreachable for some reason, and the ability just to restore from that local machine would be great in a lot of situations. So it's something that I would just really like them to ship eventually.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that obviously iCloud already exists as a form of time machine for your iOS devices. But if you want a local intermediary, something that doesn't require your iOS backups to be stored on your computer, which I would really like, Apple, by the way, it would be really cool to see that hook into the airport and into Time Capsule.
And there might be some people who just for security reasons or because of the jobs they have and security reasons for those jobs don't want to or aren't allowed to store data of any form, including backup on someone else's servers, including Apple servers. So you probably wouldn't get the fancy Time Machine interface and be able to go back in time and choose your email from 2 days ago.
Probably not.
Just your device image, having it locally would be great.
Absolutely.
All right. Shakita? I'm going to say Shakita because it sounds like Shakira. This is the question we probably won't be answering until much closer to shipping date because things change so fast, like we saw with Sprint today. But which carrier should I choose to pre-order next. Sorry, I'm not as good at deciphering people trying to make tweets really short to fit the character limit.
Which carrier should I choose for
pre-ordering next month? I'm paying full price and using as a prepaid.
Well, I would say get an unlocked phone first. And yeah, in terms of specific carriers, we're going to do a revamp of our annual guide to which carrier is the best for the iPhone. And I would say hold off until we've got that sort of put together. It largely depends on where you live, what's important to you, if you have a family and thus a family plan, and how long you're going to be using the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the age-old answer, is that we could tell you some characters amazing, and maybe there is just no reception in your area or at your place of work or school, and then that is of no use to you.
Yeah. Justin Seeley, yeah, we've got a couple more.
Awesome.
Justin Seeley asks, do you expect Apple to release an iPad Pro? I need to upgrade, but I'm hesitant given the rumors of a September refresh. Well, Justin, I would say don't upgrade until September regardless.
Or October even.
Yeah, or October. As for an iPad Pro, or whether it's just going to be a next generation iPad, I'm still seesawing, honestly. I really like the idea of a larger iPad. I think that it has a lot of potential avenues in both business and in education, which are two markets that Apple is very interested in. But we've also seen that the tablet market has steeply declined, not just for Apple, but all over the place. I forget who did the recent research numbers, but tablets right now are in this weird lull. And I think Apple needs to be very smart about what they're doing for the next generation of the iPad. It can't just be an iPad with a faster processor. And I think they're aware of this, and they know that something has to be, like iOS 9 software improvements for the iPad already look to be promising from that avenue. It says to me, yes, we're actively looking at the iPad and what we can do to make the iPad a better machine. But whether or not we're going to see an actual iPad Pro and a stylus in September or October, whether it's just going to be a new iPad that has some professional features, that's still TBD. But regardless, don't buy an iPad right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, Apple, as far as I know, Apple's had an iPad Pro for a while, and it's just what Ren said, whether they choose to release it or not. And they could choose to release it now, and they could choose not to. Apple had a large-sized iPhone 4 that they chose never to release, and we waited until the iPhone 6 to get that large-sized phone. So if you absolutely have to have it today, then just be happy with what you get, because there'll always be something new coming out. But if you can wait as long as you can, and then be happy with what you get then. Charles says, as a parent, what size hard drive is right for a new iPhone? 64 gigabytes or 128 gigabytes, given the tons of pics and videos, Ren?
I use a 64 gig, and I still have, I think, 10 gigs left, something like that. And I have a ton of photos, ton of video. However, if you have the money to upgrade to the 128 and you really want to make sure that you have the space, go for it. But the 64 gig, I'd say, is the good size for the majority of people. Yeah, I have 6.6 gigabytes currently available. And I have 188 applications on my phone. I'm reading from my About page now. 9 songs, 588 videos, 22,000 photos, 188 applications. I think that's all that's interesting. And I have 6 gigabytes available on my 64 gig phone. So if that helps in any way, hopefully it does. If you have the money to spend the extra $100 to get the 128, it's highly recommended.
Yeah, I'm going to mine now because I actually have no idea what my current stats are. So I'm in settings, general, about, and I have 113 gigabytes, of which 80 gigabytes is free. And I'm using all like the iCloud, Apple Music, and iCloud photo library and all that stuff. So it's super efficient. But if you're planning on shooting tons and tons of 1080p video, then I think, or if you want to store tons and tons of 1080p video that you download from iTunes, for example, then the 4 gigs of swatch, you're going to go through that pretty quickly. But otherwise, I think you're pretty much fine with either of them. Rich W. Woods, Ren. It's got two of them in there.
Rich
Oh, this,
W.
yeah.
Woods, yes. Is the third generation Apple TV no longer supported? The Apple TV never got iOS 8.4, and there's no sign of an iOS 9 beta. Well, Rich, I would say that's largely because we've heard lots of rumors about a new Apple TV, and I am guessing that they do not want to give away things that might be present in a new Apple TV by unleashing a beta software update. I'm assuming that the next version of Apple TV is going to be a very big overhaul on the software side, because currently the software has kind of been minorly updated since iOS 5 or so. And as a result, I think that they want to kind of hold that new interface back. I do think we will see new iOS software for the latest generation Apple TV, especially because Apple made such a big push at selling it for $60 earlier this year. But I don't think we'll see a beta until the new Apple TV is released.
Yeah, and Mark Gurman just put up a shot, a mock-up of what it might look like. So you can check that out. It is
That
very white.
pesky Gurman fellow.
Very, very white. Very white, the new interface is. Which is going to be interesting for brightness. But, you know. Marius Davies wants to know, how do I reset activity data on an Apple Watch? I want to start over.
How do you reset activity data? That is a great question. So I believe to reset activity data, I'm going to investigate it more thoroughly, but I believe you can do it A, from the health application, and B, you might be able to do it from the activity app on your phone.
I reset mine by pairing and unpairing it.
You could also do that, yes. It will dump all of your activity data. It will dump your activity data if you don't make a backup. But yes, this is what I would recommend.
Yeah.
But even so, I mean, I would just a devil's advocate for a moment. Assuming this is your activity data and it's not, you're starting over because, you know, one of your friends was using it, or your husband or your wife or your kids. It's, you know what, even if your move circles look not great for the last month or so that you've had the watch, or you feel self-conscious about it, don't reset it. Use it as a point to go better and step up from there and say, okay, so this month wasn't great. I'm going to use that as my, you know, my motivation to do better in August, or to do better in September. Erasing, sometimes it's good to have data of where you didn't do as well.
Plus wicked bragging rights. You can say, look at the progress I made from just then. It is always good to have that big hockey stick at the beginning of your graphs. All right, well, I think that is all the questions that we have for today, Ren.
Woot. Well, those were a wonderful series of questions. Thank you, readers and listeners. We appreciate it.
And we are going to be back, I believe, on Friday again. We've had a little bit. We were hip deep in so many of the things this Friday that we punted till Monday, but we wanted to make sure we got it done on Monday. But we're gonna try and keep fairly consistent for the weeks ahead, leading up to. I think there's something going on in September.
Yes, just something. Nothing. Not. It shouldn't be a big deal. It might
year
be
after year.
Hardware.
Maddening year after year.
You probably haven't heard of it.
Yeah, they should just. I mean, what else do they have to prove? They could just drop the mic and go into hot tubs.
True facts.
Seriously. All right, Ren, if people want to find out more about you on the internet, where can they go?
They can go to my Twitter feed or Instagram at Settern, SETTERN, or on iMore.com, or on the Incomparable, where we're about to launch our radio theater. And soon you'll be able to find us on the iBook store.
Woo!
Under iMore Editors. You can find the Apple Music book for pre-order available today. $5, less than a venti cup of coffee.
What entertainment lurks in the hearts of podcasts?
Yeah.
Incomparable Radio Theater knows.
The Incomparable does. Yes, if you want to hear me doing all kinds of crazy voices, beyond the occasional joking accents I do on this show, check it out. It's really fun.
Also, once in a while, you have James Thompson's incredibly fake Scottish accent, which is delightful.
It's pretty great.
I can't believe he thinks anyone believes that accent. You can find me at Rene Ritchie. You can find all of us at iMore. If you haven't already, please go to iTunes. Please subscribe. Please leave a rating and review. It helps them know that you like the show, and that encourages them to feature us. We can get more great people like you to like the show. Otherwise, if you want the video version, it's available at youtube.com/iMore video. I want to thank everyone who joined us live right now, and to everyone listening on their commutes, at work, while they're mowing the lawn, while they're flying their drones, however you choose to celebrate with the iMore show. Thank you so much. Have a great week, and we'll be back with the next show.
Bye-bye.